how are you? So I'm coming to you from Ulverston, a little town, well, kind of near Ulverston, a little town in the Lake District. So we're having a little holiday, a little getaway for me and my husband. And I thought I'll do a quick live to talk about a very important subject, which is vegan supplements. Answer them afterwards. So I hope you're doing well. So yeah, supplements um, are very, very important for us as vegans, because we want to ensure that we have enough of the nutrients we need in our diet. And as a vegan, your diet will naturally be quite good and varied because there's a lot of, fruits and vegetables and pulses and legumes and nuts and seeds we do consume. The more varied, the more whole food, foods you eat, the better. And obviously, if you are following my channel, if you have seen a few videos, I encourage to use as much as whole foods as possible, and not to include oil, and to kind of reduce refined sugar, and just eat as healthy as possible, at least for 80% of the time. So let's address the two big myths, which is B12 and protein, right? So as soon as you go vegan, or if you talk to somebody about going vegan, the first question most likely will come out of their lips is, how do you get your protein, or where do you get your protein? Huh? Hi, Alistair. Nice to see you. Where do you get your protein, right? And it couldn't be simpler. The answer couldn't be simpler. Every single plant-based food has protein in it, okay? Literally, even fruit has about 5% of protein. So protein is absolutely not an issue whatsoever. Like I said, there is no, well, in fact, there is no such a condition as protein deficiency, right? Protein deficiency, people might confuse it if somebody is calorie deficient. So if somebody is starving, say in Africa, if people don't get enough actual food and calories, then they might say, oh, it's protein deficient. But it's not quite right, because it's not protein deficient per se, it's more just starvation mode. So if you don't get enough calories, then it might be possible. But other than that, there is no such a thing, as protein deficiency. Did you know that black beans, pound per pound, have more protein than beef? Definitely. If you look that up yourself, Google it, have a check. Black beans have more protein pound per pound than beef does. And there's protein in everything. I think the richest source of plant-based protein is your soybeans. Then I think it might be black beans, then followed by probably lentils. So your pulses are a rich source of protein, but there's protein in everything. Vegetables have protein, and even fruits. Okay, so I definitely wouldn't be worrying about protein whatsoever. Now the next myth, okay, B12. If you say that vegan diet is our natural diet, how come we can only get B12 from animal foods, right? And that's a wrong conclusion, because animal foods is not where we used to get back in the day. It's not where we used to get our B12 naturally. So before all of this kind of food revolution in the last few decades, we used to get our B12 from well water. and veggies, right? So let me explain. So B12 is not found in animals, it's actually a bacteria that lives in the soil. Okay, so that's where, the reason people think that we get it from animals is that yes, you can, you used to be able to get them from animals because what happens, cows would graze, the grass, and with that they would get some soil and some of that bacteria. And yes, when you used to eat that kind of meat, you would get B12. However, back in the day, we used to get all the B12 we needed from well water, which would be rich in that bacteria because it comes through the earth, the rocks, and the stones, and through the soil. So it does have B12 already in it, right? And the second way used to be from growing your own organic vegetables. Okay, so if you grow your own organic vegetables and you didn't wash them, sterilize them as they do right now, you would get some B12 from your vegetables naturally, because there's would be some particles of the soil still left on the vegetables. So yeah, so that's how we used to get our B12 in the past naturally from nature. But if you think about the current situation, all our water is chloridated and fluoridated in some areas. All our vegetables are also washed and kind of left for ages in the chlorinated water. So there's no bacteria left on it whatsoever. So that's why, people say, oh, well, you can only get B12 from animal products. And you know what else? Animals do not have B12 these days. If they are, mass produced, massive animal agriculture, which is majority of the meat, unless you go to a farmer, your local farmer, organic farmer, who let their cows still graze in the fields. But if you buy mass produced meat and dairy from just a mass animal agriculture company, they feed them monocultures of soy or corn or something else. They do not let them roam and eat the grass like they used to. So actually, animal flesh no longer has B12, but what they started doing is they started injecting the B12 into the animals. So it does have that, and we do get it, right? But why would you want to filter your B12 through the animals, through the flesh of an animal, if you can get it directly from plant-based source? So the best plant-based source of B12 is algae. Okay, so that's where you could get B12 easily. So there's so many vegan supplements that are taken from algae. And it's a easy and abundant resource, and it's not too expensive as well. And that's all you need. You need some B12 supplements, easy to get, and you've got that covered without having to eat meat that has got other toxins like antibiotics and hormones of the animal and whatever else they inject into them. So yeah, you don't need to filter your B12 through an animal. You can get them directly from a plant-based source like algae. Okay, so I hope that's kind of put your mind at rest of how our diet, vegan diets are actually natural, and they used to supply everything we need from it, except from what happened nowadays when they're disinfecting all the vegetables, and don't no longer get well water. Okay, so let me address another important thing, which is iron. Thank you, Mick. Hello. So yeah, iron is another very important thing. So I'll tell you a little bit about two types of iron. So you get heme iron, in animal products, and also you get non-heme iron, right, in plant-based plants, well, in plant food, right? But you also get non-heme iron in animal foods like dairy and eggs, and half of the iron in meat is also non-heme iron, which I actually didn't know. I thought all animal products have heme iron and all plants have non-heme iron, but actually in animal products you get about half of heme iron and half, and non-heme iron. And in dairy it's actually non-heme iron. That's why, vegetarians, some vegetarians have an issue of anemia, being anemic, because iron also inhibits iron absorption. Sorry, dairy, not iron. Dairy inhibits iron absorption, right? So if you are vegetarian, you will, most likely have some issues in absorption of iron, because, like I said, if you eat a lot of dairy, dairy is blocking some absorption, and with dairy having just non-heme iron, which is naturally less easy to absorb for humans, okay, then you see where vegetarians would have a problem with this, okay. So yeah, so for me personally, I have a little bit of an issue of absorbing iron from plant foods. Hence why I take iron supplements. So normally now, I haven't got it with me, but I've got like one supplement from a company called Nutravita. I can link down below, where they've got all the required vitamins and minerals and nutrients that a vegan would need, which includes B12, iron, also omega-3s, DH3, which is like a sunshine vitamin, calcium, and I think magnesium. So it's got all of the needed nutrients in one capsule, and it's called, I think, vegan minerals and nutrients, something like that. Used to be vegan essentials, called vegan essentials. But yeah, I just take one capsule that has already the required amount of iron, because I personally have a little bit of an issue of not absorbing the plant-based iron as well. My husband, for example, and you'll find that women need more iron because we lose iron more with our menstruation cycles, whereas men tend to have less problems because obviously they don't menstruate, so they don't lose as much iron. So my husband is fine. He didn't need any supplements for iron per se. He would get enough from food. And yes, you can get enough of iron if you are more careful of combining foods, making sure you eat lentils, you eat, maybe porridge, because oats have quite a bit, cereal, so if you're eating organic kind of wheat, and so yeah, so spinach and things like that. So if you eat enough in your diet, yeah, iodine as well, in those nutrients that I take, yeah, iodine is also included. So if you wanted to get iodine from foods, then you can get iodine in the form of kind of kelp or seaweed as well. So yeah, so anyways, where was I? That the I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? I was saying, oh yeah, so that my husband didn't have much of an issue with iron deficiency, whereas me, when I first started, when I first became vegan, after about 3 or 4 months, after not taking any iron supplements, I started to get a bit weak and tired and exhausted and like dizzy at times, and I was like, what's going on? And then I did blood test and I found out that I am iron deficient. I did try to raise it, I think, over a couple of months with food, tried to eat kind of more iron rich foods. However, it didn't quite go very far, because there is also important to know that some substances like tea, coffee, um, chamomile tea, I believe as well, peppermint. Um, what else is there? A couple of other things, they block or like make it harder to absorb iron. They kind of complicate iron absorption. So you would probably need to try and make sure you don't, drink tea or coffee together with the iron rich foods. And to increase non-heme iron, plant-based iron production, you would need to, include vitamin C, for example, in lemon juice, like lemon or citrus fruits, or red pepper, say, or pepper. What else is there? Oh, pear and apple as well, apparently, help with iron absorption. So maybe have a slice of pear and apple in your salads and things like that when you're having spinach. So there are ways to get, enough iron with foods, but I kind of just didn't want to be that regimented, to make sure I always, eat a portion of lentils, a portion of, wheat, a portion of whatever, with my meal, a portion of spinach. So I didn't want to do that, to be that specific and detailed, because it can be difficult, as it is if you kind of eating out, or or trying to get stuff when you're not cooking at home, for example. So I didn't want to complicate any further. That's why I choose a supplement that has all of the needed nutrients for me, and then I know I'm covered. Okay, so that's a little bit about the nutrients. Calcium, I mean, it's kind of, people say, well, you need dairy for calcium. However, calcium is not very easily absorbed from dairy products, in fact. And in fact, there has been studies where people that eat a lot of dairy products, like cheeses, say in Switzerland, they actually have more fractures, because what dairy does, it acidifies the blood. Okay, so it acidifies the blood and your body by trying to neutralize, because we have to have more alkaline blood at all times. It's very critical for our well-being. So to make sure that the body does that it keeps the alkaline balance in our blood, right? Then it draws some calcium out of our bones, okay, to try, because, well, I think it draws out calcium, or bicarbonate. Calcium, is it calcium bicarbonate, something like that. So anyways, it draws calcium out of our bones to neutralize and make it more alkaline. And in fact, that's why, some studies found that people that eat more dairy products and cheeses in particular, they have more kind of weaker bones and more fractures later in life. So yeah, and plus dairy is, like I say, it impedes iron absorption, and second of all, it also creates mucus. And a little story from my own life, from my mum's experience. So my mum would always have some phlegm in her throat. She would always be like and trying to kind of spit it out, or to try to clear her throat all the time. She would always, try and clear her throat. Every so often you could see her, you could hear her coughing and, trying to clear her throat. So she would always have some mucus in your throat, right? But after being stuck with me and Mark and eating only vegan for 3.5 months, all the mucus is gone. There was nothing to clear anymore. All the mucus was cleared, and yeah, it was gone. There was no longer this issue, even though she had this mucus at the back of her throat and her nose for ages, right? So like for years and years, basically, as long as I can remember. but 3.5 months of eating no dairy, just vegan food, cleared it. And the same happened for her again one other time before that, when dietitians asked her to eliminate dairy foods for 2 months, I think it was. And again, the same thing happened. The mucus has cleared from her system. She didn't have that anymore. So yeah, so that definitely proved to me that dairy is definitely mucus creating, and also it creates inflammation in your joints as well. So if you have some, joint pain, knees or ankles or wherever, yeah, if you're still eating dairy, try and give that up and see the difference it makes. So I hope this little impromptu video was helpful, talking a little bit about, vegan supplements and the myths about, about iron, B12 and protein. So I haven't been able to answer all your questions, so I'm going to have a look now after the video and answer some more. But I hope you're having a lovely night. I'm enjoying my cup of tea. Yeah, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. And let me know, thank you. And let me know if you'd like to do more of these question and answer sessions. I might ask for you guys to submit questions, and then I can, reply to the questions you already submitted, and also reply some live perhaps as well. Let me know if you'd like that. So yeah, so bye for now. Have a good night.